hope you're as excited as I am to be here this morning. I'm glad that the snow waited until you got out of your driveway and were able to get here. You may never go home, but we have a lunch planned and all that, so you're good. And we just want to welcome you here. We have many visitors and people who have gotten up very early in the morning and driven in from Calgary and Edmonton. We have Ontario and British Columbia, people who have come and visited today, and then our regulars who are from all over the place as well. And we thank you, because some of you have gotten up very early this morning thinking of the weather and the traffic, and we just really appreciate that so much. If you've got those programs, and you may think, well, this is just a newsletter, but inside there is a program telling you what's going on. And we do want you to pay very special attention today that at 3 p.m. the Ihana Youth Choir is going to be performing. And Mr. Manigani is going to be sharing a story of his life. And you can see that in between, when Calvin's talking, you can read about him. Over here. And so you want to come back at 3 p.m. this afternoon as well. And at 10:30, we are going to have our young people with Azalea featuring the people of C3. And you might say, Pastor Ron, what is C3? Well, if you look in here, you'll find out it's in here as well. Now, I can't help but be a local pastor as well. Something we do every week, and that is we sing happy birthday to local church members who have had a birthday. So I didn't ask for permission, I'm just going to do it because I'm bigger than most people on the platform here. Happy birthday to Sarah Chavez, to Fern Sheffield, whose birthday is today. So Fern is downstairs probably and getting her Sabbath school classroom ready. Mark Oliver Koikoin will turn 30 on April 15th. Sam Asante, his birthday is April 16th, and Tony Anthony Gimbel on April the 18th. How about our visitors? Any birthdays in the youth choir in the last week? No. Okay, let's sing happy birthday. Everybody's welcome to read this, but you've got some very important information on here, especially about next week's graduation service. Please don't forget to read what you have in here.
Thank you, Pastor Ron. I just wanted to let you know that the reason it's snowing, Pastor Ron told me yesterday he was praying for clouds so that we could see the movie this afternoon as well. On behalf of the administrative team of Better World, I'd like to welcome you here this morning too, especially everyone who's come, who doesn't normally come here on a Saturday morning. Welcome to you, and thank you for your support of this Humanitarian Day. I'd just like to introduce the participants in our program this morning. On the platform with me, of course, you've met Pastor Ron Sydenham. He is our senior pastor here at the College Heights Seventh-day Adventist Church, and he is also the chair of the Better World Board, and he has been serving that capacity for the past 13 years. I'm Calvin Hill, and I'm chairman of the Better World Steering Committee. And on the platform with me are Eric, Raja, I'm sure you all know, Brian Levitt, you all know as well. These are the gentlemen who co-founded the Better World. And Kathy Lacey, our guest speaker, will be introduced a bit later. And also on the platform with me is Alexandra Yebu, and she is with us visiting from the Messenger. That's the church magazine for the Union of Canada. We've been thinking about this being the 23rd Humanitarian Day for a Better World, And I just thought it would be interesting to take a look back and see how many individuals in the congregation today actually participated in the first A Better World year. Whether you were a traveler, whether you were a volunteer supporting somehow, whether you donated in the first year that A Better World operated. Could I see those individuals stand? We have two. Oh no, we've got several. Yes, look at that. 23 years ago, and they're still here. Wonderful. Okay, so now let's compare that. Let's compare that with everybody here who has participated in A Better World project in the past year, whether it be not just traveling, but a volunteer, a supporter. Maybe you made hats to be delivered in Kenya. Maybe you did travel. Could I see you folks stand, please? 23 years later, look at the impact in the community. This is wonderful. Thank you very much for your support over these years. Okay, Pastor Ron.
One of the things we've done for, I'm not sure if it's 23 years, it's been at least 13 or 14 years, we've read the same scripture. One of the basic scriptures behind the founding of Better World. It comes in a part of the Bible which deals with the last judgment scene. And you might be interested to know what was the key point in the last judgment scene. And I'm reading from Matthew chapter 25, starting at verse 34. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, "Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." And the righteous will answer, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison?" And the king will answer and say to them, "Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me."
As we looked out and saw how many of the congregation have traveled overseas this last year, I got a feeling you all are probably saying to yourself right now, you know, the temperature wasn't so bad over there in Africa. Right? Yeah. Many of us here today have had the privilege to travel overseas on a Better World mission trip. And each one is a new and an exciting adventure, even though it's a repeat type of adventure. And thus was the case of my most recent trip to Kenya in January. On this trip, not unlike others, we visited many of our projects that we've got going in certain parts of Africa around the areas in Kenya. And I had the privilege of doing evaluations and assessments on our projects over there. This morning, just for a couple of moments, I'd like to highlight just 3 of our projects that we visited on our most recent trip to Africa. I'd like to start with the most recent school opening. We have lots of schools going on around the world, and this was our most recent one, a place called Rapogi. The project occurred in the Central East Africa area. We've got a gorgeous new facility, a 3-classroom classroom there, that we had the privilege to be present at the opening ceremonies. And I got to tell you, they really know how to celebrate over there. I don't think we've got quite the same spirit over here. This seems a little different. 6 hours later, speeches, music, presentations, near 100-degree weather. It was beautiful. We all went home fully blessed at the end of that day. It was just exciting to be a part of that. It was quite a unique travel experience that we had with virtually all seniors. It was a SAGE group trip. both from Canada. Around 22 individuals are with us, and then many of them working in the SAGE program, in the newly formed organization here in Alberta. As well, we pulled in a group from Australia, about 11 others that came over from down under to up above, and we had a great time blending those groups together. We thank the Cloutons for being the instruments in bringing together those families of Cloutons, but also their friends and others that joined us on this trip. We went into the area of the rural Kenya, and in this area there is a particularly high rate of orphans. So we have a number of orphanages established over there, but it's also the highest area for HIV and the problems with HIV. So it's a real challenge to work in those particular areas. Still, the greatest need in these rural parts of Africa is water. And we take it so for granted over in this country here. But over there, it's a precious commodity. It's something as precious as you could think of purchasing or receiving in this country. When you ask communities what are their priorities, if they don't have water, they may not have buildings, they may not have transportation, their donkey may be crippled up, their bike probably got a flat tire, but water is the priority that they are looking for. And through our water projects, we've been able to serve thousands of people who are now able to simply turn on a spigot and fill up a bucket of water, as opposed to walking several kilometers and packing it on their heads or on a bike as they are pushing it back to their village. You'll see here one of the methods of lifting the water is through electric pumps, powered by solar panels, and then pumped into large reservoirs, which provide gravity flow pressure for distribution to the spigots. Generators are also providing the electricity to pump water into the holding tanks. But by the end of the day, to see the joy and the hope on the faces of these children, because they have clean water available for their daily needs, is simply a modern-day miracle. Last year, we drilled in this area 11 wells, and we're serving over 100,000 people with fresh water. That's quite an undertaking and quite a blessing for the folks over there to see the joy. Each year on our Humanitarian Day celebration, we take a special opportunity to fund a specific project. Last year, through your generosity, we were able to purchase and deliver this new ambulance for Ghana. Our own professor from CUC, Noel Donker, was on the project as our manager. He worked for us and went over to Ghana actually twice last year, working through the project. Let me talk to you for just a moment more on our project for 2013. Pictured here is one of the schools that we have finished in Sudan. Our goal this year is to raise funds that will go towards 3 classrooms in a block in Sudan. One of the Better World's greatest strengths have been our partnership with other groups. One of the partners that we've enjoyed over several years now is with the Crossroads Church in Red Deer. We're happy to see Bill here this morning from the Crossroads Church joining us. We'll be partnering with them again as we work on this project for this year. You'll notice that the kids look a little bit crowded in this picture here. You may think that it's just because the kids all want to crowd in to get into the picture. Well, they do that as well. But this is how they are in class while they're sitting there. And some of you may be quite specific type-oriented people and are counting the students in the classroom now, and you have come to the number 50. It's amazing. The reality of the situation is that's only half the classroom. You could look and see if the camera would pan over there, which you can't do right on this picture. Actually, that classroom holds 95 students. This is how they do school. So it's a great need for the students to be able to do this, and to be able to have a room where they can function. This is where they're studying today. It's under a little grass roof hut. And then, when the sun warms up, starts beating down, they move back behind the little hut. And that's where they stay in the shade to try and do some classwork. So church, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here because of your history with Better World, as I think I'm aware, as you are aware of the great needs. We just want to thank you for your generosity toward the mission of a better world over these last 23 years. This year, your gift will go towards the 3 classrooms that we plan to build in Sudan. Our goal is to raise $25,000 for those 3 classrooms. And as you have done in the past, we'd like to invite you to partner with us once again as we look to Sudan and their educational needs. You'll find an envelope in front of you, Better World envelope or a church envelope, doesn't matter. We'd like to invite you to take that and place your gift towards the Project Sudan for this year. And if you'd like to make a commitment, that's available for you to do as well in there. And we'll be calling for the offering to be taken up towards the end of our service this morning. Again, thank you for your support of a better world in its endeavors to reach out and make the world a better place, one project at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and we wouldn't be able to do any of these projects without your support. But right now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the Better World Citizen of the Year. A Better World Citizen of the Year is presented to an individual or an organization committed to making a better world by involving and engaging community. The recipient focuses on one or more of the 5 areas of development: education, health, water, agriculture, and microfinance. Honor is not given just for monetary value alone, but also for the spirit in which the project is represented and supported here in Canada. When Gail, Azalea, and I walked into this building, we saw by the principal's office the sign of the school that said Sunshine Hills. But around that sign were these words, in case you cannot see it from there. It says, developing minds that think and hearts that care. Even though it was my first trip to this school, it was clear to me that this school was going to be different. My impression was confirmed when I entered the gym to set up to speak. All around the gym were huge posters like this that were made by the children, not only to welcome us, but to understand the needs that the world faces. There were hundreds of children who had gathered in the gym, and the student leadership took over. We were all impressed. They had already done so much research on where the project was going to take place. They had even rehearsed how they were going to introduce us as speakers. They had even written out questions to ask. After we finished, one of the students put up his hand and said, "How much is this clinic going to cost in Sudan?" I was very reluctant to answer that question as not to discourage the children. I said about $20,000. And I quickly said, we will make sure that we raise some money so that we can get this project done. Then the student said, don't worry. We will have no problem raising the money. He said, for the past 3 years, we have been raising $30,000 in our elementary school to support causes like this. And this year is going to be for a better world. I was back at the school to speak again to give them an update on the project. I heard how the entire school and community got involved. This child brought in the most from grade 1. Then came the big surprise. They had raised $20,000 and another $5,000 had come in a little bit later. So in January, I made my way to Sudan to see the clinic that was completed. So here it is, the picture of the clinic with their name on the building. The day I arrived to see the clinic, it was immunization day for newborn babies. I was so impressed to see how a small group of children in Canada could make such an impact in war-torn Sudan, thousands and thousands of miles away in a refugee camp. But behind all of this is one shy, dedicated, committed, passionate teacher working behind the scenes tirelessly to make this world a better place by inspiring her students. I am pleased today that Joan Stevens from the Sunshine Hills Elementary School of Delta, BC is here. Her friend Gail, who introduced us to the school as a former teacher, is also here. And I'm going to invite both of them to come forward and receive the Citizenship of the Year Award from A Better World for 2013. Please welcome them. Thank you, Joan, so very much for coming out, representing your school from Delta, BC today. And we have something for your students that will make this memorable for them. And we're looking forward to seeing your students again. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Oh, nice.
Good morning. I usually have the children speak for me, but I couldn't bring them today, so I'll have to do it. I am honored and humbled to accept this award on behalf of the students of Sunshine Hills Elementary School. As Eric explained, I have the privilege of working with an amazing group of grade 7 students who, despite their young age, have a tremendous sense of global social responsibility. They are passionate about righting the injustices of our world and making a positive difference in the lives of the many less fortunate children on our earth. Their compassion, determination, and commitment to our causes never cease to amaze me. Through their leadership, Sunshine Hills has succeeded in raising a total of $75,000 over the past 3 school years to help free African children from poverty. After supporting an adopted village in Sierra Leone for 2 years, we decided last year to turn our eyes and our hearts towards the children of another war-torn and often forgotten country in Africa, Sudan, and we set our sights on building a medical clinic. However, Sudan is hard to access and very few humanitarian organizations are involved there. We needed help, and that's where our good friend Eric came in. We needed someone with connections in the Sudan, someone who shared our passion for helping children and our vision for creating a better world, someone who believed in the power of young people to make a positive difference in the world. In a word, we needed Eric and his better world. Through Eric's negotiations for us in the Sudan, we decided to build a 2-room medical clinic in Kosti. My students set to work, and by May 2012 had succeeded in raising $25,000. But I would now like to let the children of Sunshine Hills tell you more about their story through this little video that they have prepared for you. As Greg Mortensen once said, when you take the time to actually listen with humility to what people have to say, it's amazing what you can learn, especially if the people doing the talking happen to be children.
We are the students on Sunshine Hills Elementary School B team. We are very honored to be part of your celebration. celebrations today. We're humbled that you have chosen us to receive a Better World Citizen of the Year Award. Thank you.
We would like to tell you about our school's social responsibility journey. We call it the Voyage of Discovery from Entitlement to Gratitude and Compassion. Our voyage began in September 2009 when we attended Vancouver's first reading held by Free the Children and heard the tragic stories of life of so many children in Africa and Asia. We decided there and then that we needed to break through our peers' complacency and entitlement and move them to compassion and indignation about the plight of these exploited children.
We heard Mia Farrow's heartbreaking story of the plight of women and children in Darfur, Sudan. Her words became etched in our memories. I held their broken bodies and I promised I would get help. We had to try and make a positive difference in the world.
Between 2009 and 2011, we worked with Free the Children and adopted 2 poverty-stricken villages in war-torn Sierra Leone. Thanks to the very generous support of the Sunshine Hills community, we were able to raise a total of $45,000 to give the children of our villages a hand up. We were able to provide them with schools, critical clean water, and farm animals as sources of alternative income. We truly felt that we had helped to make a positive difference in the lives of the children in Sierra Leone.
Last year, we decided to turn our eyes and our hearts toward another war-torn and often forgotten country in Africa, Sudan. And we set our sights on providing the critical medical care to give them a hand up.
And that's where our good friend Eric Raja came in. We needed someone with connections in the Sudan, someone who shared our passion for helping children and our vision for creating a better world, someone who believed in the power of young people to make a difference in the world. Through Eric's negotiations in the Sudan, plans were made to build a 2-room medical clinic. We needed $20,000.
To kick off our fundraising campaign, our weekend students hosted our annual Sunshine Hills We Day Assembly to inspire our school population. Then we held our 3rd annual walkathon. Our students rose to the challenge and brought $19,000 in pledges.
Together, with the money we had raised earlier in the school year, we had a total of $25,000. In July 2012, A Better World was able to begin construction on their desperately needed medical clinic.
Eric was there for us every step of the way. We'll never forget the day that he called the project manager in Sudan during an assembly at our school. Eric dialed Llewellyn, thousands of kilometers away in Sudan, put the call on speakerphone and told him that Sunshine Hills had raised enough money to build a clinic. We all heard the amazement in Llewellyn's voice and heard his good news as well, that the Sudanese government had committed to providing medical personnel to make our clinic a functioning reality.
Eric visited our clinic in Gaza and sent us photos of the completed clinic to show us concretely what our money, preciously donated from the events, actually accomplished.
Thanks to the passion of our team students, the tremendous generosity of the Sunshine Hills community, and the critical behind-the-scenes orchestration by Eric, some 14,000 refugees in the coastal area are now able to access medical care. The day that Eric visited was Mother-Child Day for infant immunizations and checkups. We can only imagine the far-reaching impact our clinic will have on the lives of these underprivileged children.
We would like to conclude by sharing with you a story that exemplifies the generosity of even young children here at Sunshine Hills. 7-year-old Sage was saving up money to buy a puppy in her piggy bank. After seeing the slides that we showed at our school's assembly of the dirty drinking water in Sierra Leone, Sage decided that the children in Sierra Leone needed clean water more than she needed a puppy. So she emptied her piggy bank and gave us $35 to our walkathon pledges.
In conclusion, our weekend helps students here at Sunshine Hills by inspiring them to be more compassionate and generous global citizens. By the same time, it helps students in Africa by providing them with schools and medical care. It is indeed a win-win. Thank you for listening to our presentation and for honoring us with your Citizen of the Year Award.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to have young people and students taking leadership roles. And it's truly amazing today to see so many youth getting up early, so I'm going to invite the honor, the youth choir. They're going to be singing for us, and along with Rosedale Valley Strings, who share a dream of making a better world through their music. Tihana Youth Choir was directed by Lisa Ward, an amazing lady. We're going to be hearing from them at 10:30 and again a concert at 3 p.m. And of course, Rosedale Valley Springs have been partnering with us for close to 10 years. Naomi, thank you very much for all that you have done. Kathy Lacey, teacher, daughter, wife, mother, friend, successful businesswoman, passionate volunteer, extraordinary leader, creative initiator, strong supporter of community, is how the Red Deer Mayor described Kathy when he awarded her the Red Deer Citizen of the Year 2 years ago. Numerous awards and recognitions are not signs that Kathy has completed her journey of volunteerism. In fact, she keeps on giving Mo said Sandy, who works with her on the Festival of Trees event. Kathy has lived in Red Deer since 1964. She graduated from Lindsay Thurber Comprehensive High School in Red Deer, where she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. After attending Red Deer College, she graduated from the University of Alberta with a Bachelor of Education degree. She taught school for the Red Deer County and Red Deer Public School District. She is a major shareholder with her husband Peter at Service Equipment Corporation, now trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Kathy and Peter have 3 children, Robert, Mark, and Diane. Kathy is best known for her long-time involvement with the Festival of Trees. In 1994, she hosted the very first Festival of Trees, and she has chaired a committee every year since the beginning of the festival. This year, the festival will celebrate 20 years, and over $9 million have been raised to enhance patient care at the Red Deer Regional Hospital. Annual attendance of over 22,000 guests and more than 2,600 volunteers make the Red Deer Festival of Trees an event that raises more money per capita than any other North American city. Kathy's ability to think ahead and inspire volunteers has made life better for Central Albertans in the healthcare facilities. Kathy talks about her parents as an example of her passion for volunteerism and giving back. Both Jack and Joan Donald have received the Citizen of the Year Award, and her mum, the Order of Canada, the highest honor given to a Canadian citizen. Their most recent community contribution was recognized by Red Deer College when the Red Deer College School of Business was named the Donald School of Business, a building that I get to see from my office window and reminds me of their commitment to this community. All of this comes from a humble beginning, says Jack, her dad. He started with buying one small gas station and grew it to 454 service stations under the name that we recognize now as Fast Gas. Kathy and Peter have taken their desire to improve lives beyond the borders of our country. Upon seeing this clinic that serves 10,000 people, they, along with others, helped build this new medical facility. This year, another new clinic was opened with several partners, joining them, including her parents and Rosedale Valley Springs. Education and teaching is a great passion for Kathy. For 10 years, she served on the Foundation for Red Deer Public Schools and was chair of the foundation for years. Seeing education as the foundation for improved lives, they reached out for constructing schools in Africa. Our projects are not without its challenges. Kathy is not afraid to deal with the problems. Even if the problems are the size of a rhinoceros, they can be tackled head on if it means better life for other people, says Kathy. Kathy and Peter have visited this project at least twice. A Better World honors their involvement and thanks Gord and Kathy Ponji and the Russells for introducing them to A Better World. It is Kathy's dedication to ongoing improvement, no matter what she is involved in, that makes her very valuable to A Better World. Peter and Kathy are on the advisory committee for A Better World. While all these contributions are significant, we at A Better World see Kathy as an ordinary person, giving an extraordinary amount of time and resources to improving lives. Will you please join me in welcoming Kathy Lacey to speak to us?
Can everybody hear me okay? Good. Thank you, Eric, for the wonderful introduction and for inviting me to be your guest speaker today to talk about the business of giving. My start in a career of volunteering came about out of necessity, as Peter and I decided that I should stay home with the children. I knew I needed to continue challenging myself beyond kid stuff and always to continue learning. I needed to find something that would fit with Peter's and the children's schedule, while still allowing me the opportunity to do something that was mine. Many of those meetings involved bringing my children with some paper and a box of crayons and hoping that you could finish your business before the kids got restless. Yes, we missed the extra income, but I figured out ways to supplement by having a huge used children's designer clothing sale. People would line up for a chance to get in first. I started taking consignments from my friends, and one day we did $5,000 in used kids' clothes, which was a lot of used Oshkosh overalls. With the support of Peter and my children, I've had the opportunity to give back in many ways. But mostly, it's an investment of time into a project that makes a real difference. Time is one of those things that you have a finite amount of. And without the investment of time, most projects would never come to fruition. Along with the investment of time, you need people who are willing to make a financial investment. And my parents always taught my brother and I that it was important to give back some of what you made financially to build your community. I'll share my mom's favorite quote. You can't go through life wearing a catcher's mitt on both hands. You have to throw something back once in a while. Peter and I were busy raising our family and building a business, and I was working on a variety of not-for-profit projects when Gord Bonjay talked to us about an interesting organization he was donating to called A Better World. Gord was Peter's business partner in lay bond. Peter was the lay, and Gord was the bond of lay bond. The picture you're looking at right now is Gord Bonjay standing by the official Dungalow. The Dungalow is a dung house that is made by the women of the Maasai community. And we thought this might be an option for Gord to feature in his new lineup of homes. Anyway, Gord introduced us to Eric Raja in 2006. I set up a meeting and asked Peter to join me. Eric showed us how every donation collected went right to the purpose intended, and Peter was very impressed. Eric is accountable to all his donors, and for those of you currently involved with A Better World, you'll know what I mean when I say they deliver results. This is a picture of Juma at the Telek Clinic that we've been involved with for a number of years. Very, very proud of Telek Clinic. And Juma was here last fall, so I know many of you met Juma. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. And of course, as you can see, Eric's in this picture, helping describe what everybody is looking at. This is a group of donors that had the opportunity to travel last fall and meet Juma and see the Telek Clinic for themselves. And this brings me to the business of giving. I'd like to share a few of my lessons learned in building communities. I've traveled to Kenya twice with Eric. I've seen lots of projects, and I'll talk more about this as we move along. With every project I get involved in, I need some very definite objectives, and with A Better World, Eric's been focused on building healthy communities by offering a hand up, not a hand out. The problem with handouts is that they tend to lead to learned helplessness. Rewarding people for helpless behavior only perpetuates the poverty cycle. Learned helplessness is not unique to third world countries. We can see many examples here in Canada. On our first trip to Africa, Eric took us to Kendu Bay. I was so excited to see a 100-year-old project. I expected to see a fully functioning, self-sustaining community. Up to this point on our trip, we had seen many A Better World projects, but no project sponsored by another organization. This was the first one. Kendu Bay had been significantly funded for a long period of time. I was so disappointed at the school. There was litter everywhere. The smokestack on the cooking kitchen had a huge hole in it, and the ladies were so happy the Canadians had come to fix things as they coughed in the smoke-filled cooking kitchen. The site was in disrepair, and nobody seemed to care. And this is a photo of the smokestack with a huge hole in it. I was so very sad, and it started me thinking, what was missing? Food grows here, they had water, plenty of funds for seeds to plant, they had schools and hospitals. Why weren't these people self-sustaining? And this is a picture of a crop at the East African Mission Orphanage, which is a wonderful example of a self-sustaining community. These people grow all the food for the children, and there's about 250 children that live there. So you can see by the size of this corn crop that things will grow. Yes, I know there are often unforeseen circumstances, but we deal with those every day on a one-off basis. And sometimes you need extra help, but life should still go on. Always the focus should be on self-sufficiency. So I thought about this a lot, and what was missing was expectations and accountability. What we love about A Better World was their model of working with the community and having the community be accountable for the ongoing success of the project. Generally, a committee of community leaders is formed to be held accountable for the project. An example of this is in the Malay community, a community that we had all felt was a highest needs community. A Better World was prepared to drill a water well so the people of Mali could have clean, fresh water every day. But Eric wanted the community to form a committee and come up with a portion of the cost of the water well. And this is a photo of a completed borehole site. This one isn't at the Mali community, but it gives you an idea of what that looks like. You might be shocked at this request, but even the poorest people of the world make buying decisions. And often these people have ways of earning money if it is required. You'll be surprised that many people in rural Kenya own a cell phone. And yes, it's much cheaper than it is here in Canada, but it's all relative. They walk many kilometers and pay to charge their cell phone, so they are making decisions. And this is a photo of cell phones in the Masai Mara. In Kenya, there are more than 28 million cell phone users, or 71% of the population have a cell phone. In Canada, cell phone usage is at 74%, so it isn't a whole lot different. So Eric drew a line with the Malay community. You be accountable for your part or no water well. It took a long time, but the community came up with their part of the deal. And as my dad would say, now they have some skin in the game. Not only did they finish the well, but they built a water kiosk. And a person is in charge of selling water for a few shillings. So now he has a job and is responsible for the repairs and maintenance and being sure the elephants don't destroy the well. So the picture you're looking at now is a functioning water kiosk. And you can see the people come, they bring their buckets, they buy their water, and the fellow inside of the kiosk is responsible for being sure everything is looked after and everything is functioning. Without this shared ownership, the people would have enjoyed fresh water for a short time. And then the well would have fallen to disrepair, only to sit abandoned and rusting in the sun like so many other projects we've seen along our journeys in Africa. Congratulations to Eric and the Better World team, because expectations and accountability and change are so important to achieving success. This brings me to a discussion on partnerships. Just like one of my favorite Jack Johnson songs, we're so much better together. And you're going to be looking at a windmill, and this windmill is a water pump that was built by a group called Dig Deep. Peter and I like to plant seeds, ironic as we're in the farm implement industry, but you'll hear more about that from Peter later. By planting seeds, I mean we love to partner on projects with other donors or not-for-profit groups. Let me tell you about a partnership with the new clinic we helped to fund in the Masai Mara. Eric had planned to put in a water well at the clinic and arrived to find that there was a group of young graduate engineering students working on the well site with an organization from the UK called Dig Deep. This is another picture of the windmill. And then this is a picture of the, and I really struggle with this name, so bear with me, Adonye Arinka clinic that we have finished funding with a group of other people, which I think Eric introduced. When he introduced me, he talked about this clinic. It's a wonderful clinic in a beautiful part of Kenya. Not only did Dig Deep work with providing water to so many people in that community by piping the water out, But also they had students on site to address the problem of elephants smelling the water wells and destroying the well site. Turns out that a pad of loose gravel around the well site proves unstable for the elephants to stand on. So as long as the well site is well maintained, the elephants will leave the pump alone. I believe Dig Deep went on to partner with the Better World on a number of well sites in Kenya. What a great partnership. Let's talk about change. A change in the way we give, a change in the way we think. I want to share a story with you about porta potties. In Africa, almost all of the toilets are stand-up concrete structures that are relatively expensive to build and are very permanent. So I thought I had an idea for Irene, the headmaster at Logero School. And here's a picture of Irene and I. We really love Irene. She's just a wonderful person. So a bit of history. Peter and I have been donating to Logero School for a number of years. When we first met Irene, she was living in the town of Telek. So Peter and I went to visit her. She was renting what would amount to a single stall garage with no windows, no lights, and no running water. She at the time walked about 5 kilometers to teach at the school. In a journey, she had to cross the river, and during the rainy times, the river was unsafe to cross, so she simply couldn't get to school. And Irene desperately wanted teachers' housing at the school site. Peter and I really like Irene, and we felt sorry for her situation. And after discussion with Eric, we agreed to build 4 teachers' apartments that we would agree to rent out to the teachers working at Logero School. Remember, the key word here is rent. By the way, the teachers are paid by the government and they receive regular monthly pay. And this is a photo of the garden at Logero School, which Irene is now growing vegetables for the children to have with their midday meal. And she's just doing a wonderful job. Eric was the one who had to present the proposal. And oh my goodness, this was completely new. No one had ever asked for rent before. And the idea that Irene managed the funds was completely unheard of. Finally, they agreed. And now, 3 years later, they have the funds needed for some much needed repairs and maintenance. And Irene is so proud to be able to pay for these repairs out of the rent account. This kind of independence gives dignity and respect to the people. This changed work very, very well. And this is a picture of the housing that, the teachers' housing. They have running water and solar power, so they are much better off here than they were renting in town. Back to my porta potty story. I figured that there had to be a cheaper and easier solution to the large concrete stand-up latrines that were so costly to build. So I found a nice yellow plastic porta potty in Nairobi that had a seat and a hand washing station, and I thought this was surely a better solution. So I called a meeting with Irene. Well, Irene was horrified that I would think that she would want to sit on a seat that others sat on. It is so dirty. Concrete latrines work well in Kenya, and culture eats strategy for breakfast. A famous quote of Peter Drucker's. And you can see our nice little blue porta potties that you'll never see in Kenya. I'd like to share one more story with you to support the culture eats strategy for breakfast quote. In the book called Abundance, the story goes like this. A well-meaning charitable organization was putting in water pipes in remote rural Africa so the people of the community could have clean drinking water. But each night, the pipes were being vandalized. And this is a picture of women walking for water, which is or actually, I think this is children. Sometimes the children walk for water, they'll get it from their school or they do it after school. But oftentimes it's the women, the work is left to the women. And they walk many, many kilometers for water daily. So it turns out that it was the women of the community that were vandalizing the pipes. The 4 hours that the women spent walking for water was the only time they got away from their husbands. And they cherished this time. And they were afraid that if the water came to them, they'd lose this time away. Which we can all understand. This is a picture of a lady with water, and it is so heavy and so much work. And so it's hard for us sometimes to understand how the thinking is. Discussion with the people ahead of change is vitally important, and we need to learn and respect their culture. Otherwise, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. This is a picture of the original clinic at Telek. It was in total disrepair when we first arrived, and Eric showed you another picture of it in the introduction, but this is very typical of what we see often when we start working with the community on projects. Maintenance is a big issue in Kenya, and it costs money to keep things working properly, and we need to help the people to learn what needs to be done to maintain what they already have. As donors, I think we need to realize that we need to continue to monitor a building project long after its completion. This initiative requires a change of thinking, both on behalf of the donor and the recipient. It is happening, and the people will be far better off for it. Peter and I look at giving as an investment in the future, an investment that needs to be well managed with defined expectations and accountable results. This is a change from the common ways of thinking about giving, but I think it will provide better results. You can donate so much more than just money to a better world. Often your talents can save overhead costs. And these are just some beautiful photos of the natural wildlife that you get to see when you travel with a better world to Kenya. Eric also provides lots of time for photos, and thank you to my husband for providing these beautiful photos for us today, because they really are amazing. I want to express to you that I am in no way an expert, and these are my opinions only, and certainly I don't have the answers, but I can tell you that I do truly care and hope in some small way that we have made a difference. I want to close with sharing my favorite quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you for your time.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. This place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. And there are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel. Feel or dread of existing and start living. And then it feels that always love's enough for us growing to make a better world. Make a better world. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care
Let us bow our heads and close our eyes in benediction. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to fellowship with one another today. Thank you for the wonderful stories you have shared of how your people are working for you, dear Father. Just like it says in your word, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. Dear Father, help us to fulfill the Great Commission and to do the work that you've called us to do. I thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us to spend together and to hear more wonderful stories of how you're changing lives from country to country. Please, Lord, fulfill our lives. Give us your spirit so that we may touch one another with compassion and love, just as you've called us to do. In your holy, precious name, amen.